Ironside will not be seen tonight, so we may bring you the following special program.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Word Balloon to the Outer Limits. Gabe Hardman, Jeff Parker, myself, John Suntress, all excited to be talking about episode 22, Specimen Unknown.
Nice. And apparently, by all accounts, the most disappointing episode of the Outer Limits. Like every quote from the people making it, every quote is how horrible they thought it was and how big of a disaster they felt like it was. But we'll see. Our panel of experts here will tell us whether that's true or not.
But ironically, as Gabe and I were just discussing off the air, highest rated episode of the run.
Yep.
Isn't that interesting? They all hated it, but.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I think either Stevens or Stefano, one of those were quoted as saying that, they were really frustrated how networks could never understand that ratings are a lagging indicator. It's that, a previous episode had been exciting for people and they talked about it, so people tuned in, and whether they tuned in for a good one or not is, that was the thing. Right. But I mean, the rating isn't necessarily telling you that particular episode was the one people loved the most.
Yeah, they didn't have Arbitron or what was it they used for TVs in the 70s?
Nielsen.
Yeah, it was just Nielsen's. Yeah.
I was part of a Nielsen family.
We were a Nielsen family for a little while too.
Yeah,
and I was the only one filling it out.
Did you only get the diaries, or did you get the thing that you connect to your TV?
I think we actually got the box for a while. I don't know. I don't remember what happened to it.
We only got the diaries, and we thought that was interesting because the AC Nielsen corporate offices were here in Chicago, and we're like, well, you figure they got to have it in the backyard. But
I would think you would definitely get the box at that point. Yeah, and I remember we only did it for like a month or two or something, and it was just me filling it out, so it was very focused on whatever I was watching.
It's just Johnny Quest.
Yeah. Johnny Quest.
Everybody in that household loves Johnny Quest.
That's fantastic. One could only hope. That's amazing.
So this episode is a Plants from Space episode. Yeah, there's no real bear in it. It's about there's astronauts on a space station, and they find a kind of mushroomy looking spore attached to it, and
I have photos,
which grows up into a flower that shoots puffed rice at people. And a lot of the conflict of the show is, or at least I guess kind of should be, about whether or not to bring them back. That it's a little muddled in the actual episode, and then and whether or not that whatever effect is affecting them on the ship will somehow spread on Earth, and it turns out to be flowers. Evil flowers, though,
Yeah, hissing evil flowers that scream when they're hurt.
They are scream. They do scream.
Come on, man! I love this one. I'm serious.
No, that's cool. So, Jeff, what was your big thought on this?
First, I couldn't stop thinking Michael Crichton saw it and just went and started making his notes for Andromeda Strain while he was in college.
Yeah. Well, I'll give it this. This episode is much more exciting than the Andromeda Strain movie, which is the most boring movie ever made.
Completely.
Go ahead.
It's pretty boring. But it's interesting. All I could think of, well, first I was actually putting the story aside for a second, I was impressed with the props. I thought they did a pretty good job with the space station and the model and their shuttlecraft. Look, that's nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
That looks like this big book of Golden Science thing I had as a kid, and what they would show a space station would look like. And oh yeah,
the shuttle.
Yeah.
There's Gabe's favorite backlot that
Tarzan Forest. Yeah. It's the sad thing about those good looking models though is that not the spaceship and on the backlot, but the models is that they're just from a different show. They're from what's it called? Men into Space, the Ziv
Men
show?
into Space, the Ziv anthology show. Absolutely, man.
So, I mean, they do look great, though, and the people who made them on that, good job. Not only the space station, but also the shot of the kind of EVA shot where he's going outside. And
thank you. I took a picture of that to remind myself. I love that bit.
Yeah, it's great.
Come on.
That is also just from the other show. Intercounts close-ups
really?
of the actor. Yeah.
I had no idea. That's fantastic because...
But, I mean, they did it well. They integrated it well, though. I mean, you wouldn't know it just from looking.
And this was a year and change before Leonov and Ed White did their spacewalks, which is why I thought it was really cool as well. Man, I'll tell you, and it doesn't surprise me that is stock footage from Men into Space because I was going to bring it up anyway, and that's why I love this episode. I love all as contemporary as they could be, contextual astronaut stuff. I'm a sucker for I Dream of Jeannie. I mean, I love every time there's a real NASA episode of I Dream of Jeannie and they're training or they're actually in space. That's fantastic. And really, I do, from a retroactive standpoint, love looking at this stuff and seeing that it's like, they were pretty good. They were pretty on point. And even using the stock footage of whether those were missiles or earlier, probes or whatever that we were setting up and everything, old Redstones, who the hell knows?
I think they were
appropriate.
Yeah, I think they were missiles. I think those same shots were.
It looked like a V2.
Yeah, those same shots were in Nightmare, the episode Nightmare, and the opening prologue. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff is fun. I mean, I think that the downside of this is just that it's not. I don't know if it's out to say anything more.
Yeah, and that's
exactly
what it has nothing to say.
Yeah,
and I tried to work backwards, trying to figure out. Okay, they're always trying to say something. So what got lost? And what I had to keep first, and I'm sure the thing that kept hitting both of you like it did me, is how cavalierly they bring in those fungi off the back, the thing. And when we know in real life and the Mercury and Apollo missions, they kept them quarantined for a crazy long time when they came back down because they were deadly afraid of something that might come back on the craft.
Yeah, space cooties, absolutely, man.
And in fact, but here they find it and go, I'll go stick it in the incubator.
Right. Well, and I think that the problem, I mean, just dramatically, I think the problem with the episode is that at every point where they could have had to have the characters make a more difficult decision that would have made the drama better and made it more credible, they didn't. It was almost, like I can see how this happens. Like you get into these circumstances where you feel like you're just sort of making the wrong conflict decisions as you go, and instead and just get off on the wrong track. I mean, they should have just been arguing for no, you cannot land. No, you can't do the things that that they fuck up, and then when they do anyway, that's the problem. The
astronauts are totally cool with it. They're all like, blow us up, and we can't come back. Like
the conflict's the wrong way around. It's not. It is. But
and you can learn a lot from dissecting a story that didn't work.
Yeah,
and seeing what would have made it work. I do it all the time, and then I run off and go tee hee like I had an idea.
Right.
And even the one guy's wife, who's there to be the classic Outer Limits romantic interest, even she's kind of not super. She's like, you probably shouldn't let him land.
Yeah. There may be a whole other story behind her arc in this that we're not getting.
Yeah, and then it's the military brass goes, now we're bringing him in. Come on, I don't care.
She's like, now hold your horses here. Now, are we sure that we want to bring them back?
Yeah, and in Florida, land in Florida.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So, like, the thing was, the big production thing that they were all freaked out about in this was that the episode came in 6 minutes short, which is like an eternity for, an hour-long TV show, right? Yeah. And so this was actually one of the earliest episodes. Like, it was the 5th one they shot, or that may be wrong, but it's a very early one that they shot. And it was so like, it came in under, and Leslie Stevens, the producer, freaked out about it, went to Stefano. Stefano was overwhelmed by everything else going on, and they were basically just like, all right, we got to push this one. We'll deal with it later. So much later, Stevens came in, and he wrote that whole Dabney Coleman opening scene, the one, with the, where we first see all that stuff, and he's doing that kind of, junior high science experiment stuff, and dies and all that. All of that was shot way later, and Dabney Coleman is in that and none of the rest. Well, obviously he dies, but I mean, apart from that, he was none of the other cast was available at that point. The professor's off on Gilligan's Island, and so they just had to come up with something to fill that time. But I think that adding that. Just narratively adding that at the beginning is sort of crippling. I read the script for this, and and I didn't know about that before I read the script. I read the script, and it's like it starts with pushing the body off into space, which is actually a great opening for the episode. Yeah. I mean, comparatively, it's the scene's well shot in and kind of cool. The wire work and everything, and and it also is just intrigue at the beginning of it. Like, hey, how'd this guy die in space? Adding the explainy sequence to fill out the time, even if they need to, both kind of undermines the intrigue and the kind of natural arc that the script had, but also it pushes structurally everything back so far in the rest of it that the whole episode structurally feels really off balance. When we're at the third act stuff, it's like 5 minutes from the end of the episode, and the script's own problem of going from the astronauts and handing off the dilemma to the general and the wife is still there in the script, but there is the kind of weird feeling of the structure is because so much of it got pushed back by needing to fill in that time and filling it in right at the front because none of the other actors were available to do extra scenes in the body of it.
It's a waste of Russell Johnson, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's like at that point, Russell had been in It, I think.
He's in This Island Earth. He's in Attack of the Crab Monsters, a favorite of mine. Roger Corman, favorite of mine.
Terror from Beyond Space.
Yeah, and he was kind of a a sci-fi classics-ish stalwart before Gilligan's Island.
Several zones.
Good looking enough to be a lead. Also looks like he could be a scientist because he conveys smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, I think he's great on Gilligan's Island. I'm not joking. I think that I like Gilligan's Island, and I think he was perfect casting for the professor.
Yeah, absolutely. I trusted the professor implicitly.
No question. Absolutely. Yeah. No, definitely. And again, great Twilight Zones. The time travel one back there, where he tries to stop the Lincoln assassination.
Oh yeah, right. That's right.
That's I think that's my favorite Russell Johnson zone. And that's why, and it was interesting too, Gabe and I were talking, and I didn't realize it, but the shuttle was also in a Twilight Zone, and that was Probe 7 over and out from the final season, I believe.
For the 5th season. Yeah. It was actually made, was made for this. It was made for Outer Limits, and
then the Zone used it.
Yeah, this was shot so much earlier. I think the Twilight Zone episode came out before this one did, but this was actually shot before it, and then they sold that prop to the to Twilight Zone.
Amazing.
I mean, that's cool. And I actually I think that the flower. I think it's a cool idea. I know that it's not, that it's silly and they seem non-threatening or whatever, but that's exactly the kind of thing that you kind of, the challenge you try to make work. I mean, maybe it didn't exactly perfectly work, but I mean, the obvious thing is doing something, blatantly threatening. Lost Jeff.
We lost Jeff. He'll be back.
The cool thing is to take something unexpected and try to make something interesting and, scary out of it, whether you succeed or not. I give more points for the trying.
I agree. I just do think, though, that the design of the flowers really does look like, like an art student's project,
It
especially
kind of does. It
the
does. It
pot at the
actually,
bottom.
you know what it looks like? Well, yeah, because there's a big vagina on it. Yeah, but it's come on, it is like, and but that whole thing in a way, like the
Yes, it is.
there is a particular femaleness to to flowers, to the fact that they have a vagina on the front of them. I mean, come on, there's no person on earth designed that, and not knowing that that's what they were doing.
That's awesome, man, because I swear to God, I didn't even think of that. I'm literally looking at the shape of like the bottom of it being almost like a vase.
Sure,
and that's why
sure.
it just looks like, hey, Jimmy's fourth grade art project here.
Right. Well, it also kind of looks like that that kind of the style of a particular kind of God, what was that guy's name? There's a Disney Imagineer who did a bunch of stuff. He designed this this thing that was supposed to be part of the part of the haunted house, haunted mansion, the museum of the weird. He has an odd name and I can't remember it, but we're just talking about the design of the somewhat goofy design of the flowers, and I was defending it. I was also pointing out that it has a big vagina at the bottom of it. But
there we are. That's one thing I was going to say that I think is effective. They made a lot of the flowers, and you don't always get that. And they keep doing the thing. Every time they cut back, there's more.
Yeah.
Until they're in the car engine and everywhere else, and they can't even walk down the road. And I thought that's pretty good. They were.
Oh yeah.
They were getting that right.
Supposedly they only had like a really limited number of those hero flowers. They could only afford and have time to build, the
ones that actually drooped and moved and everything.
And just
when you call them hero ones.
The one, yeah, sorry. The hero meaning the focal prop, right? And so there was only a limited number of those, and they made most of the rest of them that anything that was not immediately in view were Kleenexes attached to sticks. Like they're really like a cool.
Wow.
I mean, a low budget, super low budget, but I can't see it. I'm watching a fucking Blu-ray of this thing on a 65-inch TV, and I can't tell. It's that's cool, great movie making.
A couple of times I could see a tiny wire, not even a wire, like a filament.
Oh yeah, there is definitely a big there's one shot.
But it wasn't that bad.
No, but there's one shot that has a big obvious wire. I mean, but look, that's just back to the same thing of people weren't watching this projected on 35 millimeter.
Right,
they're watching on a terrible little CRT
almost
TV.
round screen.
I mean, back in that episode, The Man with the Power, the one with
Donald Pleasance.
Donald Pleasance.
You really see that wire.
There's a thing about picking up a rock, and there are just these cables on it that are so obvious. It happens on this kind of thing.
But that again, the limited budget that they had, they were really able to achieve a lot of cool stuff, and that's why I really do love this one. And I put it on par with and this might sound like an oxymoron, the best Bird Eye Gordon movies in terms of this really is like your classic kind of monster movie.
Right.
Format. And also with the, we mentioned obviously Crichton and the Andromeda Strain, also a bit of H.G. Wells in War of the Worlds with the rain being the thing that wipes out the aliens, much like the birds in War of the Worlds.
That ending is straight out of War of the Worlds.
Absolutely,
And of course, you're not expecting rain to hurt a plant.
Right. The one thing the script did a little bit better with that, though, was it set up the impending thunderstorm better with them thinking, oh my God, they're going to spread everywhere because of this, and and
that would have worked,
and it had so that there was more tension built up in the in the actual episode. It's more like Deus Ex, precipitation, whatever.
And there's exactly. And there's one time when the Colonel is saying, "Where's those flamethrowers?" And I went, "Yeah, flamethrowers." It's like at least he mentioned them.
I know, but it's just everything about it didn't bother me watching. Actually, none of this bothered me watching it the first time. But they go to meet a crashed spaceship with a Ford Falcon and and
Yeah.
an ambulance, and that's it. Like they have nothing else.
They've got and they've got a tire tool to break in down the door.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You
That
think they're going
crowbar
to pull up at least with a big pry bar or something? No, it's literally the tire tool out of the trunk.
yeah. Like I just feel like this was, you could read this whole thing like there's a whole other element going on here. Like maybe this isn't really NASA. Maybe they're not. Maybe she doesn't really want her husband to come back. There might be a whole shadow story going on here that we're not entirely aware of.
Now, and of course, the obvious one that Hardman lured me in with when I never even know when Thursday is until you guys.
Dude, I'm so sorry. I know.
Start
I
talking
blame
about
myself
it.
as well.
Well, no, I'm really, I can't tell what day it is. I'm very
I've been doing it
serious
too.
about
Yeah.
that. And he DM'd me like, I know you're a Wyndham.
He froze.
Oh no.
Oh, I like it.
This was we were just getting to the perfect Jeff Parker part of this story, and and then we
Mr.
lost.
Green only had one killer, and that killer is
well, I do think that the frozen Jeff Parker will be back in a minute to talk about
Absolutely.
Day of the Triffids, and I think it's a pretty the John Wyndham book, and and then there was a movie from the sometime in the 50s or no early 60s, like 61 or 62. Have you seen the Day of the Triffids movie, John?
God, not forever. Good Lord, I guarantee you, maybe high school.
Yeah,
if I'm lucky. So, all right, he's back.
Yeah,
Parker's back.
Okay, good.
My Wi-Fi, I don't know what the hell's going on tonight. I'm having the worst time. But anyway, I was trying to bring up Day of the Triffids, which is one of my favorite sci-fi stories, which is, interestingly, it starts off with the conceit that there are Triffids, and people have been raising them for a while, and they're walking plants that get about 8 feet tall if full grown. And they could potentially be dangerous, but they're slow and easy to handle. But the beginning of the story starts with just a big light show in the sky that everybody's excited to see with the meteor, the comets. God, wait, I'm forgetting now if it were comet or meteors.
I think it's a meteor shower, but I can't remember.
I
think
anyway,
everybody goes out. They're blinded by it like the next day. And only the people who were, for various reasons, not able to see the thing are the ones who can still see on Earth. So suddenly, most of humanity is vulnerable now to the Triffids, which are just wandering around, having their way with you. And it's a great book. It's really fun stuff.
I read it. I read the novel for the first time a couple of years ago. It really is a great book, and it's English. It's set in London and environs, and it's able to talk about to these kind of power structures and class and stuff in great ways that that you can in science fiction.
Jason is right, by the way. I think it would be a great remake movie, especially in today's garden culture.
They did a new BBC version just a few years ago.
Did they? I didn't realize.
Right. Oh, wow. I did see something about that. I've not seen it though. Did you? Is it?
I have not seen it either. I've been saving it, and but yeah, they've done different versions over the years. There's been audio versions
that I knew. Yes.
Yeah, and
I'm a big BBC 4 Extra listener, which you can stream. And they have incredible modern audio drama and also old stuff as well. But my God, they do an incredible job of sci-fi and crime in particular on BBC drama.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I'm aware of that and listened to some stuff on there, but I hadn't actually delved into drama and stuff. That's cool. That's
really good.
A good recommendation.
Yeah. See, you people get this for free.
Absolutely.
And it's one of Wyndham's better known works, along with the obvious Village. Well, what you call Village of the Damned, and his book, it was the Mittich Cuckoos.
Yeah.
With George Sanders trying to stop a bunch of little kids who can communicate with each other and mess with your head.
Or if you're particularly unlucky, it's Christopher Reeve. Was
Yeah.
it?
That's right.
The weird Carpenter remake. Yeah, that still puzzles me. But anyway,
But, clearly the Day of the Triffids is the sort of champion of scary plant science fiction stories. And they're, and I think, I don't know how that miniseries does it, but I do think that I'm certainly here to defend classic movies, but the early 60s Day of the Triffids movie, it doesn't give you anything of the sort of like weird dynamism and impact that those plants have in the novel. There's just something like intense about about like hitting you in the face with whatever that, the I don't know. There's just something much more intense about the way they're portrayed in the novel than it just being a kind of mess of shit shaking around at you, like in the movie.
It's no Quatermass movie, that's for sure.
I was going to ask, was it made by Hammer?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a slightly bigger budget movie than that. I'm not. Jeff's gone again. He talked about his book, and then he left. He talked about Day of the Triffids, and he's like, enough of this.
He's made his peace. Absolutely,
not getting paid for this.
I want to get back to Dabney Coleman because did not recognize him.
Oh, really?
No, and I mean, I do love seeing clean cut Dabney Coleman, no mustache.
Right.
And there's even a great Columbo where he's there, and you can't miss his voice. But I think because this was kind of a silent. He did, I guess, do his.
He talked a little bit, but I mean, I think he was. I've from the couple of earlier Dabney Coleman performances I've seen, it seems like he's trying to pass as a very straight, straight ahead kind of, tamping down any kind of accent he might have, in the earlier things, and and I think that when the Dabney Coleman we know from the 70s and 80s is more like. He's a kind of like, I think he's just letting his character, come through.
100%.
He's not when he's trying to be Mr. Conservative TV bit player.
No, I hear you, man. And certainly, early on, you're right. Definitely more vanilla. But it is. I didn't recognize.
Can you
yep.
me?
Yep, you are.
Okay. I can see you, John.
Well, we were talking about Dabney Coleman in that early scene and how he's not so recognizable.
He really isn't. I did not catch that was him.
Yeah, I mean, I just knew it was, but I don't think I would have noticed. He was in another episode, and a couple,
he's in the one with Henry Silva.
Yes, the mice, the one with Henry. That's right, with Henry Silva. And I didn't know. It took me watching it twice to even know where he was in the damn thing.
Yeah, you're like, hurry up and grow a mustache, Dabney. We just can't tell you.
He didn't come into his own until the mustache.
It's true, and because even again in that Columbo, as we were saying, Gabe, he really was starting to affect that Dabney Coleman persona that has been prevalent in everything he's ever done. And Buffalo Bill, one of my personal favorite sitcoms that people don't talk about anymore.
Well, I mean, that was a culty, unpopular show at the time. It was one of those that critics liked and people didn't.
Thanks, Hillary.
But the one thing about that opening scene with Dabney Coleman though was that was it was written by Stevens and it was directed by Bob Justman. So first AD Bob Justman doing his making his inaugural directing effort there. He said that there's apparently a boom shadow in the master. I did not see it, but
not there.
It looks good. Did anybody else worry if they really killed a rabbit?
That's hilarious.
I know they didn't kill a rabbit because if you can you can see that it's breathing or at least on my TV.
thought it was.
When it's flopped over like that, you could see it's still breathing. So they obviously gave the rabbit like some, a Quaalude or whatever. It was
Fair enough.
It was fine.
Another great actor that's young. Oh, I'm sorry, Gabe, if you had more about that.
No. I've done my rabbit bit.
Thank you. All right. Richard Jekyll, great to see him, man. Big fan. Massive fan.
Not in much, though. Not really, it's not like, or maybe it's just that, he's not in a ton, not really used well in the episode, I guess.
Agreed.
Much like
I agree. That's not him. I had a couple other shots of Jekyll.
But, there we go. It's just, that cockpit, though, is from Man Who Was Never Born. So we're recycling the cockpit. From the other one, or maybe the other way around. They probably built it for this and then used it for that one, since that was shot a little later, I think.
Very cool.
But no, go ahead.
I was just going to say I don't remember his name, but this guy has been in a million things.
Right. I had that guy's name. I don't have it in front of me, but
I'll look up the cast.
What you know him? One of the things you probably know him from is the Star Trek episode, third season Star Trek episode where. With Lee Merriweather as like a lady, a mystery lady who comes along and like says, "I'm only for you," and touches people, and then all their cells explode.
Yep.
Kirk and that guy plays a geologist who, he's sort of a red shirt who wears a blue shirt, and they all beam down to this planet. And I wish I had the name of it. And because it was something I not only looked up but actually rewatched some of. But it's it's a third season episode, so it's almost every third season episode, it starts with, "Hey, I don't really remember this. This is kind of an interesting setup," which then goes off the rails immediately and turns into something.
Well, I assume in one of the times when my internet went out, you did mention the Star Trek episode where they are hit by very similar spores.
Yeah, isn't that's the Paradise? No, wait. It's the one with Spock.
This side of Paradise, I believe. With Jill Ireland.
And
swinging around the tree and
Lovey Spock.
That's a great one.
So supposedly Gene Roddenberry was aware of the Outer Limits and to some extent would come over and look at the stuff that they were doing, and sometimes come to the screening room and kind of take notes on what they were doing with aliens and that sort of shit. And then, Hua Chang from Projects Unlimited and people who worked on the creature effects and stuff then just went on to work on Star Trek. So there's a lot of DNA between those two things. And I guarantee you the flowers from this became the flowers from that episode. I'm sure that's a direct
it's a good use of the flower to you get a chance to change Spock's personality. So you get to see him do something different. Whereas in here, they just kill in a way that doesn't seem to have anything to do with their own survival. It's
I don't know, because when he breaks that one, blood comes out of it, right?
Yeah.
So somehow they are absorbing this blood. I don't know.
I
don't know how. Yeah, that's true. They seem like they should be vampire flowers, but I don't know how they could,
get their hemoglobin. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know how they're absorbing that, but but I guess that this. One thing that is kind of interesting, I think, is just that this panspermia idea of the universe being seeded by life in that way seems to be it's a pretty what with the mushroomy thing barnacle attaching to the ship, and and then that spreading the life and everything. It's that seemed like such a popular idea in the mid-century, and going along with space stuff and exploration, and I do wonder about some of that sort of stuff. There's the side of it that John's talking about with the the kind of awe and wonder of NASA and the real stuff that we're doing, and then and I think another side of sci-fi stuff from that era is wanting to not demystify space stuff, wanting it to be more mysterious and crazy and interesting. And I mean, I think that's part of where these kind of things come in. But I was reading an article about panspermia, and that this is an idea that was first put forward in like 500 BCE. Like some crazy old philosopher came up with this, and the idea that life would spread from plant to plant like that. So I mean, it's been around for a long time, and they're putting it to good use.
Making a resurgence now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and even if you think about it, when Scott Carpenter was on his flight, wasn't it Scott Carpenter that saw what he thought were the fireflies, and it turned out to be his was it John Glenn with the urine?
Glenn.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I'm sure.
And
Glenn was the one who saw the fireflies.
And so I mean, that's again, space cooties. I mean, so, and that was 2 years before this episode and everything. So I think that's consistent again with things they actually were concerned about and looking for without realizing what it was. That's why I've mentioned this before. There's an amazing Studs Terkel interview with Arthur C. Clarke from the early 60s. And half of it is speculation because it's prior to us really doing anything deep space yet. I mean, it was still in the early days of Mercury. And he was postulating, like, if we discover atmosphere on other planets, meaning our own solar system still, because of, just the unknown that we were dealing with then.
Right.
So, yeah, I love that stuff. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that just in the, to your point about it being kind of in the, in the tradition of, Burton Gordon movies or other kind of 50s space-based stuff. Like, I mean, I think that just that it definitely is. And I think that that's kind of the downside of this episode in that almost every other episode, even if it fails, is you can see that they're reaching for something. They see that they're reaching for some big thematic thing or trying to say something more than just what the surface is. And I, like Jeff was saying, I still can't quite figure out what that would be. Apparently, it was
directed by what's his name?
Gerd Oswald.
Gerd Oswald. Yeah.
So it is strange that they'd lose the plot like that.
Yeah, I mean, this was actually the first episode that Gerd Oswald directed, like the first production.
Well, like you said, because it happened early in the shoot. Yeah.
So like and he was he was quoted saying that it was, he hated the script. This one was shot by Conrad Hall too. I know I said last week that no more of them were going to be shot by Conrad Hall, but that was production wise. This one was shot so much earlier, and I just didn't really realize. But so like this is the A Team, right? But but they just got saddled with a script that didn't really that came in under, right? And that and so adding stuff to it and fucking around with it kind of made it worse structure. But like I think that it just doesn't have, Gerd Oswald wise, it just doesn't have that confidence that his other episodes do, like Obit or The Invisibles, that just really feel like, they know the story they're telling and they're telling it well.
It's a shame they didn't do more interiors in the shuttle, because that was really the opportunity, I think, for both he and Hall to really shine with the shadows of the shuttle and everything. Yeah,
but
you get a little bit of that, but not much.
Yeah, but you're also stuck in a little set with what's going to amount to a bunch of will we or won't we land dialogue. So I mean,
sure,
if it were the Twilight Zone, that would be the whole episode.
That is true.
It would be nothing but those guys in there.
Yes,
and one guy would start cracking up, and it would probably be the guy who appeared on Star Trek.
Yep.
Who, by the way, the chat has come through for us, and in fact, Hillary gave us Arthur Ratanides, who, and That Which Survives is the Lee Merriweather Star Trek in which Arthur appears.
That is correct. That's right.
So I wanted to get all that out there as well.
But yeah, and you know what? You can 100% make 30-minute show all inside one little space capsule, just about the drama between these guys. You definitely can do that. They couldn't have done that in this episode, though. I mean, or maybe you could. I don't know.
Well, maybe Apollo 13 did a pretty good job. I mean, granted, there's still a lot of mission control and what's happening on Earth scenes. But because I really,
the thrust of Apollo 13 is they're in space. They have to get back. There's the one thing that they're essentially focused on, and they can play out that in it. And they're also not stuck literally in a cockpit together.
Wait, did you board 13?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, that was before I even I was 19 or something when that came out, so that was before my time.
it's 75. We all know it. It's all right.
It was slightly before my time.
No,
I think it was
it
was 95, right? Or something like that, I think. I'm not sure.
It wasn't that far back, was it?
I think it was. But
oh my God. I just
the-
like Ron Howard. Well, Hardman did that, but it's like.
But yeah, no, I think that but yeah, I think that I'm saying that it was 95. I think it's just not that there wasn't room for that in this episode, because that would have to be the episode. It would have to be about their conflicts over whether they land, whether they come back, whether they're risking people's lives, whether they want to save themselves, and all that sort of stuff, which actually is, would be better drama, and they probably would have been served better doing that.
Okay, who thought when they did the helmet reveal we were going to see a plantified person?
I know. Well, that's also kind of a letdown, because we just get rice paper lips, and
whoa, man, his chapped lips.
I know, and then and then they take him over to the ambulance, and she's like, I want to ride with him, and they're like, no, you can't, you might die. And then he kind of sits up and goes, it'll be fine. I'm gonna be fine.
Somehow he's already getting. They put him in Echo 1, the Ghostbusters car. And somehow he's already getting a transfusion.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't see any blood bags or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that brought him back.
That's another just structural thing. To me, it just feels like they needed a situation where we're all stuck here with these flowers. We can't get out. We can't get them help they need. We can't get, not just all the astronauts they've gone to the hospital and they're fine.
Yeah.
We are, we're a little bit imperiled by not being able to run away from the plants, and it's the general and the wife, not our main characters. I don't know. Maybe not having main characters in this might be a little bit of a problem.
That's a good point, actually, that really the lead is really divvied up by so many in various scenes. And there really isn't,
Yeah.
It's another one that splits in half too, like the Ed Asner episode, where your cast is this, and then halfway through it switches to a different cast.
Yeah,
which is something they keep doing.
Which, look, I'm all for weird structural shit. I'm all for trying stuff that you're not supposed to be able to do. I just watched some of this. There's a kind of YouTube show by the Russo brothers called Pizza Film School, and they talk at length about about exactly what page every particular beat of every screenplay, where things have to happen. Your page 10, your page 17, your blah, 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 and that every script has to fit this exact structure. And I more or less had an aneurysm and died. I'm
so glad it didn't freeze on me doing that for the next 5 minutes.
Oh my God. I am all for trying weird and different structural stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's less about, having to have a conventional structure and more about just having conflicts that, keep the story going.
Yeah, it's interesting bringing up Apollo 13. If they did like that, we would just keep cutting back and forth between the two for a while. And then you would have that harsh moment of not knowing when the astronauts are going to be alive. And they kind of did that in the episode. And they fool around with the fire tool way too much, not being able to get that door open.
Yeah. Although they also, when they show up at the ship, the general guy or whatever was like, well, their seatbelts probably kept them safe. Like basically, like they're yeah, that looks pretty bad, but if they're wearing their harnesses, they're fine. Like they're constantly undercutting the thing that should be the most dramatic thing.
Like another fun thing you could have done.
Maybe standards and practices.
You could have had the flowers popping up and they not realize that these are the aliens.
Yeah.
Until one of the astronauts come out and then go, we're surrounded, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, because it's either that part of it feels like the beginning of the episode is they're on the ship, they're feeling weird, they don't know why. Do they land or do they not? Is there something going on? They're in, they know you got to stay up there. They crash anyway, and because they're incapable of stopping it. And when they get there, all these plants are all over the place, and it's weird, but they don't know why. Some version of this that teases out the story with a little bit more intrigue.
And as you said, since they had to fill time, they literally show one of the biggest blocks for the opener.
It is.
I've ever seen the show do.
It is the longest open, prologue opening.
Oh, really?
Teaser.
Cold open?
Yeah, it's like 2 minutes and 60 seconds. Whatever, that would be 3 minutes, but you know what I mean.
That would be.
It's a chunk. Like just right out of the middle of it that is it just goes on for so long because they had to pad it. That was the only reason.
I like the end here with the Project Blue Book moment,
right?
As they close the file here,
right?
But and also I got this awesome. This is a trading card, and let's see, what does it say here?
There's Conrad.
This
Hall.
is the highest rated one. The opening sequence, as Gabe pointed out, directed by Bob Justman, and Stephen Lord wrote it. Obviously, yes, indeed.
Yeah,
amazing.
I think I forgot to mention that, but this episode is. It may I don't think it's a great episode, but I also enjoyed a lot of stuff in it, and I actually particularly enjoyed just looking into, how it got all fucked up production wise and why it is what it is. Which is part of the fun of this.
And again, anything with astronauts, you had me at hello. I think of like the best, some of my favorite Twilight Zones. In fact, with New Year's and everything in the marathons they were running. They reran one of my favorites, the Parallel, with Steve Forrest, where he's the astronaut that lands back on Earth, and things are just slightly different. Who the hell's President Kennedy? Never heard of him. Right. Stuff like that.
Right.
And that's the easy. And again, we mentioned Probe 7 over and out, and all of those. Again, anything with astronauts, I'm a sucker. I love.
And they did, and again, they did do a really good job with the anti-gravity bit of floating the body out. Yeah,
there he is. I love it.
And the floating the body out at the beginning.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure why they weren't all getting sucked out into space, but whatever.
I thought that too. And Dabney was working with the airlock and trying to jettison the plant and everything. Or whatever he was trying to jettison at that point.
That's true. They probably had the airlock on. They're wearing magnetic boots.
The
whole thing.
Whatever.
But it looked good bobbing out the.
If they're in space, or if they're in the suits, and it's and the airlock, the air is evacuated from the airlock, then there's nothing to suck them out. Space doesn't suck anything. It's just the absence of something.
Yeah.
That may have been. There's probably a way I could have put that more eloquently.
Whatever. We got to hear you talk about panspermia. I'm
really.
You missed a whole big chunk of me talking about the plant vaginas. I mean,
Absolutely true.
Mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned.
So next week is 23, and that is standby.
Oh, this is a good one. I know what it is.
Second Chance.
I actually can't remember which one this is.
Second Chance with Simon Oakland, Don Gordon, Janet DeGore.
Oh, that's not the one I thought was coming up. I thought it was going to be...
Yeah, 23.
Okay.
Carnival Space Ride becomes frighteningly real when an alien Birdman secretly rigs it with actual rockets. I remember this one.
Yeah, I'm not confident about this one.
I wouldn't be.
Sort of remember it, but
I wouldn't be, but it's going to be another goofy one that's a lot of fun to talk about. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, cool. Well,
so there's
we'll
me.
see you back then for Birdman and the space coaster, whatever.
Absolutely, and everybody saying so long, and I appreciate that. And absolutely, and good to see Jason.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Everybody. Thanks everybody for listening and commenting.
Yeah,
absolutely. So hopefully, and Jeff, I'm glad you came on.
Yeah, I'll try to get this internet connection figured before the next time I'm on, because that sucked. I was just probably making great faces as I froze.
Well, these things happen. That's all right. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll be back next Thursday night for another episode of To the Outer Limits. Thank you all for watching, and we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.